There's a dangerous lie that almost everyone has been taught since childhood. The idea that good, transparent, and emotionally available people always win in the end. But reality doesn't work that way. Machiavelli realized this centuries ago, and few have had the courage to admit what he saw about true human nature. The world isn't controlled by the kindest, nor by the most emotionally honest. Often those who dominate the game are precisely the coldest, most observant and calculating. People who understood early on that uncontrolled emotions become invisible chains. While some reveal everything about themselves in minutes, others observe in silence, collect patterns, study weaknesses, and learn exactly how to influence behavior without raising their voices. And the scariest part, most victims don't even realize they're being manipulated because they think they're just explaining themselves, trying to solve things, or showing their side. But in the real world, those who over-explain have usually already lost ground without realizing it. Perhaps you've already experienced this firsthand. People who seem to feed off your reaction. People who provoke, criticize, mock, or create conflicts just to observe your emotional imbalance. And the more you try to clarify, justify, or prove who you really are, the worse it gets. It seems unfair, and maybe it is. But politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires looking at the world as it works, not as we would like it to work. There are people who respect kindness. Others see kindness as easy access. There are people who value sincerity. Others use your sincerity as a psychological map against you. And it is precisely here that the most uncomfortable knowledge of this video arises. Perhaps your need to be understood has been silently destroying your power for years. Perhaps the problem has never been a lack of explanation, but an excess of it. In this video, you'll understand why the most dangerous men rarely react emotionally, how manipulators depend on your responses to survive psychologically, and why the right silence can have more impact than 1,000 intelligent arguments. You'll discover how unpredictability transforms someone into an uncontrollable black box, why insults usually reveal more about the person who makes them than the person who receives them, and how small physical adjustments, breathing, gaze, posture, can completely alter the power dynamics around you. Because true dominance never begins with shouting, it begins with calm. And the moment you learn that, certain people begin to lose emotional access to your mind for the first time. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. There's a silent moment when a person loses authority without realizing it. It's not when they make a mistake. It's not when they fail. It's when they start over-explaining. The person who feels the need to justify every decision has already surrendered something precious, their own emotional core. Machiavelli understood this brutally. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands understanding that the world rarely respects those who constantly try to be understood. Observe the power structures. The most respected boss in the company isn't the one who engages in long discussions, trying to convince everyone of their intentions. Usually, it's the most direct one, the one who speaks little, the one who decides without anxiety, because those who over-explain transmit an invisible message. I need your approval to maintain my position. And from that moment on, the game changes. People begin to smell emotional insecurity like sharks smell blood in the water. It's hard to hear this, but most discussions aren't born to find truth. They're born to measure weakness, and those who don't understand this become hostages to their own need to appear correct all the time. Manipulators love people who over-explain. They reveal complete emotional maps without realizing it. Every justification reveals fear. Every defense reveals neediness. Every desperate attempt to be understood provides ammunition. It is precisely here that one of Machiavelli's most misunderstood ideas appears. It is better to be feared than loved. Many people think this is about violence or cruelty. No, it's about psychological positioning. The person who constantly tries to please ends up emotionally predictable, and predictability is a prison. Imagine someone provoking you in a meeting. If you immediately start defending yourself, explaining intentions, detailing motives, justifying actions, you've already entered their territory. Now they control the pace of the conversation. Silence, on the other hand, creates discomfort. A firm silence dismantles more manipulations than 1,000 intelligent arguments. Because the manipulator depends on the victim's emotional reaction to continue existing in that game. Without a reaction, they lose the script. And that is more frightening than any aggressive response. The end justifies the means, but intelligent people understand that the greatest means of emotional preservation is not to offer free access to one's own inner balance. There's a huge difference between communication and the need for validation. Strong people explain when they want to. Emotionally dependent people explain because they fear judgment. And this fear seeps into their eyes, their tone of voice, their speaking speed, their excessive and unnecessary details. Virtù and fortuna go hand in hand when someone learns to control this. True psychological strength isn't about winning debates. It's about not needing to win them all. Some of the most dangerous men in history mastered precisely this art, answering little, observing much, and never showing all their emotional cards. The appearance of virtue also comes into play here. Not every battle needs to be fought superficially. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is precisely the one who seems calm, while everyone else frantically tries to justify themselves. And curiously, when someone stops providing an emotional reaction, certain people start acting strangely, more aggressive, more insistent, more provocative, as if they were starving for something that suddenly disappeared. And that's exactly where the next game begins. Most people believe that manipulators want control, but that's just the surface. Deep down, what they really want is emotional sustenance, reaction, attention, imbalance. There's almost an invisible hunger behind certain toxic attitudes. Some people provoke, criticize, mock, or belittle others, not because they are strong, but because they emotionally depend on the response they receive. It's as if they need to confirm that they still have influence over someone. Machiavelli deeply understood true human nature. Decisions based on true human nature require understanding that many relationships function as silent exchanges of emotional energy. And when someone finally interrupts this supply, something curious happens. The manipulator experiences a temporary psychological collapse. They increase the intensity, they push harder, they insist more, they provoke more. This even has a name in behavioral psychology: extinction explosion. When a behavior ceases to generate reward, it first worsens before disappearing, and few people understand this. They think the silence is failing, when in fact the silence has just hit its target. Imagine someone accustomed to provoking you daily, before, A single criticism was enough for you to react immediately. You explained, argued, tried to defend yourself. Without realizing it, you trained that person to continue, because every reaction functioned as an emotional reward. Now imagine that suddenly you stop. You don't react, you don't debate, you don't justify yourself. The manipulator feels this almost like withdrawal. So they double down, they become more aggressive, they make more acidic comments, they try to hit more personal points. This is where almost everyone breaks down because they think, wow, it got worse. But it didn't get worse. You simply interrupted the cycle of emotional feeding. The calculated use of force doesn't only appear in wars or politics. Sometimes it appears in the self-control of remaining still while the other person desperately tries to regain psychological power. And the most interesting thing? The calmer, the emotionally disciplined person remains, the more the manipulator reveals themselves. They begin to show obsession, lack of control, impulsiveness. The predator themselves exposes their own hunger, and this completely changes the dynamics of the game. There's a reason why strategic men rarely give gratuitous reactions. They understand that uncontrolled emotions become invisible chains. Having one's own loyal armies doesn't just apply to soldiers, it also applies to one's own mind. Those who don't govern their emotions end up being governed by the provocations of others. And here's an uncomfortable truth. Many people around you never truly liked you when you were at peace. They liked you when you were emotionally accessible. They liked the version that reacted, begged for understanding, tried to please, and played their game. When that ends, hostility arises, coldness, desperate attempts to pull you back into the old chaos. Constant adaptability means understanding that strategic silence is more unsettling than explosive confrontations, because confrontation still feeds the system. Emotional emptiness doesn't, and little by little, something strange begins to happen. The manipulator stops being able to predict your moves, as if trying to open a door that was once easy, but now can no longer find the lock. It is at this moment that the absence of reaction ceases to be merely protection and begins to become an invisible weapon. There's something that deeply frightens controlling people, the impossibility of predicting someone. The manipulator lives by patterns. They observe tones of voice, facial expressions, insecurities, needs, and emotional reactions, like a strategist studying war maps. The more predictable a person is, the easier they become to control. That's why certain individuals know exactly which phrase to use to provoke guilt, which comment sparks anger, and which silence generates anxiety. They study behavior without even realizing it. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires accepting an uncomfortable truth. Many people don't interact with you to connect, but to calculate possibilities for control. And that's where unpredictability becomes a devastating psychological weapon. When someone stops reacting as expected, the manipulator's brain silently malfunctions, because now they've lost the map. Imagine pressing a button for years and always receiving the same response until the day nothing happens. The void creates more fear than confrontation. Silence forces the other person to face their own uncertainty, and few people can bear to live without knowing where they stand emotionally. Machiavelli understood this almost surgically. Virtù and fortuna favor those who know how to adapt their behavior without losing their center. Emotionally intelligent people don't give up easy patterns. Sometimes they respond calmly. Other times they don't respond at all. At times they observe. At others they simply walk away without explaining anything. This transforms their minds into a black box impossible to decipher. And the most curious thing, the less predictable you become, the fewer attacks you receive. Because emotional predators seek safe ground. They look for people who already know exactly how they will react. Think of someone who constantly tries to hurt you with sarcasm. When you always react the same way, anger, defensiveness, justification, they gain confidence. Now imagine responding only with a neutral look and changing the subject as if nothing had enough value to disturb your peace. Their brain freezes. They begin to question whether they have lost power over you. And that's exactly what happened. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean spreading fear aggressively. It means becoming emotionally impossible to manipulate. Human beings fear what they cannot control, and few things seem more dangerous than someone who doesn't react as expected. But there's an important detail that almost no one notices. Unpredictability isn't about acting crazy, artificially cold, or theatrical. That's emotional childishness disguised as strategy. True strength lies in inner stability, not in theatrics. The appearance of virtue matters because truly strong people seem simple on the surface. They don't need to announce self-control. They just demonstrate it. The emotionally disciplined man doesn't engage in pointless debates to prove his intelligence. He doesn't raise his voice when challenged. He doesn't completely change his mood because someone tried to hurt him. He understands that the calculated use of force includes knowing when not to use force at all. And this creates a curious phenomenon. The more emotionally inaccessible someone becomes, the more certain people become obsessed with trying to elicit some reaction. Some intensify provocations. Others start spreading comments, indirect remarks, or small social manipulations. Because now there's a psychological void within them, the need to understand what escaped their control. And in the midst of this silent game, a disturbing realization emerges. Perhaps the insults were never really about you. Perhaps they were merely echoes of the internal struggles of those who launched them. Few people realize this at the moment they are attacked, but almost every insult carries a hidden confession. The problem is that most people hear the words when they should be observing their emotional origin. Balanced people rarely feel the need to humiliate someone gratuitously. Those who are at peace with themselves don't waste energy trying to destroy the value of others. But individuals consumed by insecurity do exactly that. They project outwards what they cannot bear to see within themselves. Machiavelli understood that decisions based on real human nature require looking beyond the surface of human actions. When someone calls you weak, useless, arrogant, or incapable, they are often describing their own inner demons. The insult becomes a desperate attempt to alleviate their own psychological pain by transferring it to another person. It's almost like someone holding burning coals and trying to put them in the hands of others so as not to feel their own internal fire. And the most dangerous part, emotionally innocent people believe these attacks because they still see the world through the logic of sincerity. They think, if he said that, maybe it's true. But the psychological game rarely works that way. Observe corporate environments, families, or relationships. The individual who most accuses others of falsehood is usually the most deceitful. Those who constantly call others weak are generally desperate to hide their own fragility. Those who excessively criticize appearance, money, or status often carry a brutal hunger for validation. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, means stopping the romanticization of human behavior. Not every opinion deserves emotional weight. And here comes a powerful shift. When a person understands that an insult speaks more about the one who utters it than the one who receives it, they stop absorbing attacks as before. This doesn't mean becoming artificially indifferent. It means starting to see invisible patterns. Imagine a self-assured man listening to someone try to belittle him in a group of friends. While everyone expects a reaction, he simply observes. Because he perceives something that few perceive, the aggressor has just publicly revealed his own emotional instability. The end justifies the means. but intelligent men know that preserving their own peace is worth more than winning petty provocations. And interestingly, when you stop desperately defending yourself, you start to see people for who they really are, not for the character they try to portray. There's almost a hidden sadness behind extremely offensive people. Many carry shame, failure, feelings of inferiority, or fear of insignificance. The attack becomes a mechanism for emotional survival. Better to be feared than loved appears again here. Some choose to intimidate because they believe true respect is beyond their reach. So they try to manufacture power through fear, sarcasm, or humiliation. But this also creates invisible cracks, because every person obsessed with diminishing others is deep down trying to escape themselves. An appearance of virtue functions as a social mask to hide inner chaos. And when someone emotionally disciplined learns to see this, something profoundly changes. The insult loses its power. The provocation loses its venom. The opinions of uncontrolled people begin to seem like distant noise. But there is an even deeper level to this psychological mastery, because perceiving the projection of others is only half the battle. The other half is in the body, in the breath, in the gaze, in the physical capacity to remain still while chaos tries to enter. And that's exactly where the silent architecture of true self-control begins. Most people believe that emotional control is purely mental. It's not. The body participates in every silent psychological war long before words are spoken. Breathing quickens, jaw clenches, shoulders stiffen, eyes begin to blink rapidly. The heart tries to transform any small provocation into a gigantic threat. And it is precisely here that almost everyone loses power without realizing it. Machiavelli understood that the calculated use of force begins with self-control. A man incapable of governing his own body will hardly be able to govern difficult situations. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires understanding that emotional manipulation works first in the nervous system, then in the rational mind. That's why provocative people try to throw you off balance quickly. They know that when the body enters a reactive state, intelligence disappears. And curiously, the most dangerous people rarely seem tense. They speak slowly. They breathe deeply. They move little, as if the chaos around them has no permission to enter them. This doesn't happen by chance. There's technique involved, there's training involved, there's architecture involved. The first invisible weapon is breathing. When someone tries to provoke you, your body automatically wants to speed up. That's where the absolute pause comes in. Inhaling slowly through your nose for a few seconds and exhaling slowly instantly reduces the threat state in the brain. It seems too simple, but it works brutally. Your own loyal armies also mean transforming your own body into a disciplined ally. Another powerful technique lies in the jaw. Emotionally pressured people clench their teeth without realizing it. Consciously relaxing the jaw sends the brain the message that there is no immediate danger. The gaze also changes everything. Manipulators expect restless eyes, quick movements, and signs of discomfort. A cold, stable, and silent gaze creates the opposite effect. It's not an aggressive look. It's a present look, confident. Slow blinking comes in exactly here. When someone blinks too fast, it transmits subconscious anxiety. But a slow rhythm communicates inner control. Observe interviews with extremely confident military leaders, negotiators, or business people. Many master this naturally. Virtù and fortuna favor those who understand that silent physical presence is often worth more than grand speeches. Because the body speaks before words, it always has. There's a reason why certain people can dominate environments without raising their voices. Their nervous system doesn't easily betray despair. The saying, "better to be feared than loved," returns here in an almost invisible way. Human beings deeply respect those who remain calm under pressure, and they silently fear those who cannot be easily shaken. Imagine a common situation. Someone raises their voice, trying to intimidate you. The natural reaction would be to accelerate along with them. But the emotionally trained person does the opposite. They breathe more slowly. They relax their shoulders. They maintain a steady gaze. They speak less. And at that moment, something strange happens. The aggressor begins to lose energy on their own, because now there is a brutal contrast between chaos and control. Constant adaptability means knowing how to adjust your internal state even when the environment tries to pull you into emotional warfare. And after some time practicing this, an even deeper transformation emerges. The person stops pretending to be calm. Silence ceases to be a strategic action. Indifference begins to become real, as if empty opinions simply cease to have emotional access to their core. And when that happens, something much more difficult to manipulate than someone who is merely controlled is born. Someone is born who is truly free from the need for approval. In the beginning, most people are just playing a character. They pretend not to care, they pretend to be calm, they pretend to have emotional superiority, but inside they're still trembling. They still feel anger. They still think about the criticism before going to sleep. They still mentally revisit old arguments while showering or driving alone. This is normal. All self-control begins artificially before becoming identity. Machiavelli understood something that few accept. Human beings transform themselves through strategic repetition. Virtue and fortuna don't only appear in great political wars, but in the small, invisible habits that shape the mind daily. The problem is that many people stop at the theater of indifference. They learn cold phrases, controlled expressions, calculated silence, but remain emotionally dependent on the opinions of others. And emotional dependence always leaks out, sooner or later. True mastery begins when a person realizes something liberating. Most of the opinions that hurt so much came from individuals completely lost within themselves. People without emotional discipline, without direction, without control of their own lives. And then a silent question arises that changes everything. Why would anyone entrust peace of mind to people who can't even control their own minds? There's a stark difference between appearing strong and actually becoming emotionally unreachable. The man who merely acts still feels the need to win arguments, impress people, and prove his worth all the time. The truly free man, however, begins to see human dynamics from a different angle. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, reveals that many live trying to buy validation because they have never built real inner value. The appearance of virtue dominates the modern world. Social networks are full of artificial security. People perform happiness, intelligence, superiority, and morality while waging silent wars with themselves every night. And the more someone awakens to this, the less emotional weight certain opinions carry. Imagine receiving harsh criticism from someone impulsive, emotionally unstable, and incapable of standing by their word. In the past, this would have ruined your entire day. Now it seems like mere noise. Not because you've become arrogant, but because you've finally understood the difference between qualified judgment and someone else's emotional outburst. Better to be feared than loved takes on another form here. The emotionally independent man is frightening because he can no longer be driven by guilt, approval, or rejection. And this breaks many invisible games that previously controlled your life without you realizing it. The ghost in the machine is born precisely at this point. When a person stops reacting not out of effort, but because certain things simply cease to possess enough emotional importance to disrupt their peace. The insult loses its impact. The provocation loses its flavor. The gaze of others loses its authority. And curiously, at this stage, Silence no longer seems heavy. It seems comfortable. One's own loyal armies now exist within one's own mind. The calculated use of force transforms into the conscious choice not to waste energy where there is no real value. The end justifies the means, but wise men understand that the greatest possible end is to preserve their own mental clarity in a world intoxicated by ego, emotional competition, and the constant need for validation. Constant adaptability also means abandoning old versions of oneself without nostalgia. Because there is a version of man who begs for understanding, and another who simply observes, learns, and moves on without carrying unnecessary weight. And perhaps that is what truly frightens cold and manipulative people. Not anger, not confrontation, but someone who has finally realized that they never needed them to uphold their own worth. Perhaps that is the beginning of true, silent power. Ultimately, perhaps true power has never been about controlling others. Perhaps it has always been about preventing others from controlling you emotionally. Because as long as someone can decide when you lose your temper, when you feel guilty, when you over-explain yourself, or when you need to prove your worth, that person still has direct access to your core, and Machiavelli understood this better than almost any other man in history. Better to be feared than loved was never just about politics. It was about emotional independence, about not surrendering your peace to unstable, manipulative, or empty people. The truly dangerous man is not the most aggressive in the room. It's the one who manages to remain whole while everyone around him loses control. Now, the question is uncomfortable, but necessary. How many times have you given emotional energy to people who never deserved access to your mind? How many arguments arose simply because someone realized they could easily provoke you? How many times have you tried to explain your worth to individuals who can't even see value in themselves? Perhaps it's time to change that. Perhaps it's time to abandon the need for approval, stop feeding useless emotional games, and build something rare these days: silent presence. Because when you learn to observe more than react, the world changes before your eyes. You begin to see invisible manipulations, hidden needs, projected insecurities, and emotional wars that previously went unnoticed. And once someone awakens to this, it's difficult to be manipulated in the same way again. So tell me something in the comments. Which of these truths resonated with you the most today? What behavior did you realize you still need to eliminate from your own life? And most importantly, is there someone around you who feeds off your emotional reactions without you realizing it until now? I want to hear your perspective on this, and if this video opened your eyes in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because from now on, you're going to start understanding psychological games that most people go through their entire lives without ever realizing they exist.